every donor, of course, is on a journey. And in many ways, of course, these are similar across different kinds of donors. Yet we know, of course, that no two journeys for donors are alike. Yes, we know that a lot of donors who are just starting off are asking very similar questions. And we also know that many donors who are further along in their paths are wanting to share those lessons with others and to find new ways of sort of exploring new terrain. These are commonalities among the donor journeys. But of course, donor journeys vary a lot. Some people prefer to travel alone. Some of you travel with a partner. Some of you travel with multiple generations of a family. Some of you have advisors. Some of you have guides or secret Sherpas that help you along the way on your journey and help you carry the burden. And frankly save you when things are starting to go bad on your journey. Some of you have partners of other sorts. You have community leaders and grantees and others that you work with that you come along with you on the journey. You'll hear about a lot of those kind of journeys over the course of the next couple of days, including this first panel of couples on the journey together. Some of you in your journeys, you want a really detailed map. You want to find out the maps of other people. And some of you prefer to wander around. You prefer to go into uncharted waters and create the map yourselves. Most of you, in fact, probably all of you, at some point will face a fork in the road in your journey. You will face roadblocks or unexpected speed bumps. And how you react to those forks and speed bumps is often what most distinguishes your journey from others and what makes for, in some ways, the most interesting stories in many cases. But again, it's the similarity, but how we respond to it can be different, and that's why they're so interesting. Journeys, of course, are often about learning technical or strategic language. You all know this through your own activities. Some of you are the ones who teach that sort of technical, strategic learning. And of course, many donor journeys are with other people, but what's important about them is that they're always intensely personal. Our journeys go to the heart of who we are and what we believe. They are a core part of our identity. For me, for example, you go back in my history, the journey that I have as a donor starts in part with my great-grandmother in the orphan train coming in the early 20th century to the Midwest. But for you, it may be a powerful early learning experience in your families. For others, it can be a tremendous family transition that you had to go through, or a major midlife crisis or other transformation that affects your donor journey. But it goes to who you are and what your sense of yourself is as a donor. So if you think of yourself as an agent for radical systems change, your journey will lead you to that, or you'll try to shape your journey toward that. If you're trying to fill the big shoes left by a predecessor in a giving family, but walk your own path in those shoes, that's your journey. If you're a humble believer and you want to live a devout life, that becomes your journey. You're going to hear all this variety and range of types of very personal journeys throughout this conference, including in the second panel for today, which is a set of journeys after trauma. And too often when we talk about journeys, we think of them as this sort of linear thing where there are stages that you have to go through, and everybody goes through them in the same way. But we know that donor journeys, identity development, learning, all that is much more complicated than a linear stage process. And especially right now in our field, the people are creating new journeys. The idea of donor journey is becoming much more complicated now. People are creating brand new entities. They're blazing new trails. The next generation, as you'll hear about later today, are creating new kinds of journeys. They're exploring new paths than ones in the past. So it's really important, of course, at this time to pay attention to donor journeys. Now, there will be many people who say, and there are people who say, that focusing on donor journeys is an indulgence. It's just a sort of telling stories that are of historical interest, but they don't matter. And that they distract us, in fact, by talking about the donor journey, distracts us from the key problems that focused on the key problems we have to solve, or the individuals who are doing great work in the communities to solve those problems, or new ideas that donors have the privilege to support. And all of those things, of course, are very important, but I still want to maintain that focusing on the donor journeys is absolutely essential and important, and maybe more important now than ever. This is because donor journeys matter. They matter for everything that donors do. That matters for why, when, where, to whom, how much, and perhaps most importantly, how well they give. They matter for donor strategies, your values, your knowledge, your skills, and ultimately your impact that you can make in your giving. So finding out we need donors to share those journeys. We need to pay attention to donor journeys, because if we want more bolder and more effective giving, if we want to improve family philanthropy, we have to focus on helping donors to have the sort of journeys that are going to lead them to want to tackle those tough problems that we all have, to want to work with those communities that maybe other people aren't necessarily working with, to stay with problems for the long time that they need to be stuck with as a donor. Those are things that we want from family philanthropy, and I think helping people find the journey to those is really important. So sharing and talking about and learning more about donor journeys is not an indulgence, it's an absolute necessity if what we want is better and more effective family philanthropy.